what the farz or what the shart and the wajib in nikah is. And we said that nikah is very simple. Hardly any kharcha is needed. For nikah to happen, a single penny is not needed. The only thing that's wajib is the meher that her husband has to pay to the wife, and she doesn't have to give anything. Okay, today, inshallah, we said we would discuss rusumat, najaiz rusumat, traditions or just practices that happen in our community that need rectifying. Okay, or just generally rusumat, general things about nikah. One question that I got asked yesterday, again, it's a common question, and it's a tough question. It's a sensitive question to answer. How do youngsters, when they want to get married to someone and parents are not, agreeing, and it's a very sensitive issue. We said yesterday that awlad, children should not really go against their parents' wishes unnecessarily if there's no reason. If they have a rishta for them, they've got no reason to refuse that. They shouldn't oppose it. And we said that parents should take care of their children's khaishat and their children's desires and respect their wishes as well. Children should take one thing into consideration as well. Sometimes boys and girls they'll have feelings for each other, and because of their lust, they'll give their shahwat, or giving their lust preference over the feelings and the emotions of their parents who looked after them, for their entire lives. Puri zindagi unka khayal rakhte rahe hain, to put all of your parents' sacrifices and their feelings, their desires, aside just for your lust. That doesn't even sound, respectful. Okay, so if there's no reason, obviously they can't force you to marry. But if there's no reason to reject the rishta that parents have for a person, for a boy or a girl, then it shouldn't be rejected. When before the marriage, it's sunnat, and there's ijazat and it's sunnat for the boy to have one look at the potential spouse, the potential bride, wife, have one look in the presence of her maharim, in the presence of her male relatives. Okay. But from my understanding is, and from my asatizan, from the Muftiyan Ikram, this doesn't mean that you can do a whole interview. They interview each other and apas mein just talk amongst themselves before marriage to see if they're suitable for each other. Because remember, even if they do sit and have an interview, even if before marriage you're interested in someone and you're asking questions, remember, you're still in asking a few questions. You're not going to get to know each other properly anyway. Okay? So it takes a long time to know someone. So that's not an accurate way of judging someone anyway. So from a Shari point of view, even in the presence of maharim, a boy or a girl can't just sit together before marriage and be having conversations and asking questions. The tariqah, the method for that is get the female members of your household to research and to investigate the family, investigate the woman, the potential wife. We must also keep in mind, sometimes if a khandan, just because if you're interested as parents, if the parents of a suitable, of a potential rishta, you don't like the parents or you don't like the brother, that doesn't necessarily mean that because their akhlaq are kharab, the akhlaq of the daughter are going to be kharab as well. It doesn't automatically mean the akhlaq of the sister are going to be kharab as well. So rejecting a rishta, iske walid ke akhlaq theek nahi hai, ya bhai ke akhlaq theek nahi hai, so iske bhi theek nahi honge. So that's not necessary. It's not necessary. You're not marrying the father, you're not marrying the brother. So the Shariat allows one look in the presence of Mehr and Maharim, and you can investigate as much as you want about whether she's a potential, she's a good potential spouse for you or not. You can investigate via the women of your family. with regards to that. We discussed walima yesterday as well. We discussed walima. Sayyidi Mufti Amjad Ali Azmi, Rahmat. In fact, even before I go to that, I was going to mention a masla. Although it is sunnat, it's sunnat for a marriage proposal to come from the groom's side, sunnat for the groom's side to give the proposal, but it is also permissible for it to come from the bride's side as well. So we spoke about this yesterday as well. कि रिश्ता सुन्नत ये है कि मर्द की तरफ से लड़के वालों की तरफ से रिश्ता जाए, लेकिन लड़की वाले भी अगर रिश्ते में पहल करें तो ये जायज़ है. We discussed this yesterday. ठीक है. So इसको culturally sometimes लड़की वाले बैठे हैं and there's a potential like a rishta, a good family, a good लड़का, but just because in their culture it's not considered appropriate for the girl side to approach the boy side. They just sat there waiting for them to come first. And whilst they're waiting, another family's approached that boy and a good rishta has been lost by a family. Okay, so although it's sunnat for the groom side to offer the proposal, to extend the proposal to the girl side, it's also permissible for the लड़की side as well. ठीक है. अगरचे लड़का और लड़की एक कौम के ना भी हों, वालिदैन को बिला वजह उनके निकाह में ताख़ीर नहीं करनी चाहिए. इसमें हज़ार हा फितने हैं. ठीक है. So even if we discussed this yesterday that castes, even if they're not of the same caste, parents should not just delay marriages unnecessarily just because the caste is not the same. Okay. Just an extra bit, about sometimes the proposal can come from the woman's side. When Hazrat our blessed mother Amma Khadijatul Kubra radiyallahu ta'ala anha, आपने निकाह का पैगाम भेजा था. Hazrat Khadija sent, so she saw the Holy Prophet alayhi salam and she extended the nikah proposal to the Holy Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. So our blessed mother Hazrat Sayyida Khadija radiallahu ta'ala, she extended that nikah proposal. When you go to, even if you go to, especially with when you go to a woman's house, potentially rishta, and if you decide, our Shaykh Tariqat, our Shaykh, he says, and even asking them for a photo, saying, give us a photo of your daughter. Okay. This is sometimes that can lead to problem because you might have a photo and the photo gets circulated as something, even to people who are not interested in rishta. You might turn the rishta down later. Okay. So let's not even ask for a photo. Go to their house, see what she's like. Even if you go to someone's house for a rishta and you're not going to say yes, you can tell that this is not for you. Be respectful of people's feelings. Don't just say, hame rishta pasand nahi hai. We don't like this rishta. There's 10 ways of saying, we'll let you know later, and then just not contact. Well, 10 ways of respectfully declining. Okay. So this is very disrespectful if your family or you've gone to see a rishta in someone's house and you've not, for whatever reason, physical or any other reason, you've not liked that potential wife, and then for you to, especially women do this. Women will come back and uska qad nahi tha theek, ya uska she's darker than we wanted, or qad nahi hai, and the way she walks or something, silly things. Women, you're not allowed to, if you don't like a rishta, you're not allowed to go and then just start speaking to the women of your mahalla, your gully, and say, hum rishta dekhne gaye the, to wo यूं थी तो यूं थी. If you don't want to accept a rishta, you don't have the right to disrespect that family, and they still got honor. Everyone's got self-respect. Not got the right to talk about इस वजह से रिश्ता पसंद नहीं है. ठीक है. So कहीं रिश्ता भेजे ना भी पसंद आए तो जुबान को ताला देकर, ठीक है, respectfully उनको decline without disrespecting them as well. Don't just say आपकी बेटी पसंद नहीं थी. That's not a respectful thing. We didn't like your daughter. That's not, a respectful way of speaking to a family. After marriage, a wife doesn't have to take her husband's surname. Okay? A wife doesn't have to take her husband's surname. She can keep her name. She doesn't have to uh, she can keep her own name. She doesn't have to take her husband's name. ठीक है. Many rasam जो है ना, some rasams are according to the Shariat. There's nothing wrong with them, which is okay. Some rasams are against Shariat. Some cultural things are against Shariat. Having the Quran Sharif on the head, लड़की को कुरान पाक के साए में रुखसत करना, ठीक है. So this is jaiz. This is a jaiz rukhsat. Someone can't say कि क्योंकि इसका hadith में it's not mentioned in the hadith, therefore it's a biddat and it's not jaiz. Okay, everyone understands we want the barakat of the Quran Sharif. Okay, so for the bride to be going into the shade of the glorious Quran, this is jaiz. ठीक है. With the walima we said yesterday, Nabi Kareem alayhi salatu wasalam's biggest walima was with Hazrat Safiya, and it was one bakri. Okay, and Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu in his nikah, the walima was just like some khujurs and some cheese. Okay. So ये लड़की वालों का खिलाना शर्त नहीं है. Walima is sunnat. There's no command in Shariat that लड़की वाले, the girl side have to feed. We touched on this yesterday, that they don't have to. They can if they want. They get sawab with good intentions. Okay, so I'm just randomly touching on various points. महफिल या शादी में पैसे लुटाना ये रिस्क की बेहुरमती है. Whether it's a महफिल, whether it's a महफिल in a masjid, or whether it's a wedding, throwing money on people. Sayyidi Ala Hazrat Imam Ahmad Raza Khan radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he states in Fatawa Razviya Sharif in two places कि उलमा ने पैसों का लुटाना, पैसे फेंकना मना किया है, क्योंकि ये भी रिस्क है, अल्लाह ताला का रिस्क है. ज़ाहिर माल is risk, and just throwing it on people, whether it's a mahfil inside a masjid or whether it's a wedding, it's disrespectful of the mal. So Sayyidi Ala Hazrat radiyallahu ta'ala says it's disrespectful. And the intention behind the walima in Bahari Shiyat, it states that if a person is doing a really fancy walima and the intention is just to show off to people, then this is haram. So वलीमे में सुन्नत की अदायगी की नीयत हो, अगर ये हो कि लोगों पर अपने माल या if the intention is arrogance or showing off, then with that intention doing the walima is haram. I think we lose the barakat with that. In Islam, the engagement ceremony, there's no official engagement ceremony in Islam. अंगूठी पहनानी है, बल्कि in fact, the way engagement ceremonies are conducted these days is best to, our Sheikh says, it's best to stop these ceremonies. Mangani की जो रस्में हैं. Remember what is mangani? Mangani is it's just a promise of a nikah. It means you've engaged. It means you've said, yeah, we'll get married. It's not the actual nikah, so you're still ghair mahrams. You're still not married. There's still parda, hijab between you after an engagement. So it's haram. Yes, you can pass rings to each other via the mahrams, but for a man to touch the hand of his fiancée and for her to touch his hand and put rings on directly, that was najaiz, because they're not married at that time, so they're touching the hands of a ghair mahram. If they want to, just give a ring to your mother, say, or your mother or your sister, and she puts it on her hand, and vice versa, that would be permissible. And sometimes in our cultures, mangani, even before the wedding, the mangani goes on for 2 or 3 days, and the women gather in the house, in the bride's house, and there's singing and there's dancing. The singing and dancing is haram, whether it's before the marriage, or whether it's on the day of the marriage, or whether it's on the day of the walima, whether even if it's only women and no men there. The singing and the dancing and the music, in the opinion of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat Imam Ahmad Raza Khan radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, music is haram. This is the opinion of Imam Sayyidi Ala Hazrat, even if it's weddings. Sayyidi Ala Hazrat Imam Muhammad Reza Khan and other Hanafi fuqaha, they say that the only permissible thing is one duf without the tambourines, and just a duf, 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 no rhythm, no tune. So just a banging of a duf to announce so that people know that a wedding's happening. That's the only thing that's permissible. This is the opinion of Sayyidi Al-Hazrat and many of the Hanafi Sunni fuqaha, that even in weddings, music is not allowed. And then dancing, even in the mangani, the engagement ceremony, it's not allowed as well before the marriage. So women getting together before in the days leading up to the marriage, this is impermissible for men and women to be putting rings on each other. You can have exchange. And remember, even rings, men are not allowed to wear gold. Okay? Men are not allowed to wear gold at all, not even one ring. And men are not allowed to wear any chains, gold, silver, or any metal. What's the only jewelry that we're allowed to wear? The only jewelry, metal jewelry that a man is allowed to wear is one silver ring. And that has to be under 4.37 grams. Even that weight was given to us by the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So one silver ring a man can wear. If in the engagement ceremony is not important, exchanging rings is not important, but it's jais if you want to. Via the maharim of your house, you can exchange rings, not directly. And for women can have gold or silver rings. They can have 10. They can have one on each finger, even if the ring has no stone in it, or whether it has one stone or more than one stone. It's jais. Gold, silver, silk is halal for women, but not halal for men. Men are only allowed one silver ring. It has to be a certain weight, and it has to have only one stone. You can't have less than one, you can't have no stones, you can't have more than one stone. This is the fatwa of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat radiallahu ta'ala anhu. So if there is going to be an engagement ceremony, then that's how it should be, with these restrictions in mind. And I've already said as well that when Huzur alayhi salatu wasalam married of Sayyida Fatima, ठीक है, तो आका अलैहि सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने लड़की वाले होने की हैसियत से खाना नहीं खिलाया. हुजूर अलैहि सल्लम didn't feed because we're the girl's side. So that's not shart, but it's jais, and you can get sawab for it as well. But again, sometimes the rukhsati tradition in our communities, it doesn't happen with hijab. There's the boy's family, sometimes the women of his household who are not even in hijab, then go to the ladki's family to get her. It should be, if in that kind of situation, the bride's brother or father should just bring her. This is the safest opinion. Just bring her to the groom's side. But the main point here is parda and hijab at all times. We have, I know in the Indian and Pakistani communities, there's different names for it. Dula dulhan ko batna lagana, mayu bithana. Okay? Where a certain sort of substance is rubbed on the woman's body or the man's body, and it's just meant to just clean the body and make them smell good. This is jais, but mehndi is not allowed for a man. Mehndi is not allowed for a man. Okay? So even if in a family there is a mehndi rasam, mehndi is fine for women. For women it's fine. For a man, whether it's on his hands, on his feet, or if it's just a bit of mehndi is not permissible for a man. So mehndi के मौके पर मर्दों को भी वो हाथों पे बाज़ औक़ात mehndi लगाते हैं. So this is not jais. Okay, so mehndi is a female thing, so men are not allowed to do this. मर्दों को रेशमी कपड़े पहनाना ये भी हराम है. In some cultures, the men are made to wear shoes with gold and silver like plated shoes, real gold and silver. So that would not be permissible for men as well. I've mentioned music briefly in the opinion of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat radiallahu ta'ala. This is one of like the biggest problems that we have, one of the biggest issues that we have at the moment. In the opinion of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat Imam Ahmad Raza Khan radiallahu ta'ala anhu, fireworks are also not halal. In the opinion of Imam Ahmad Raza Khan radiallahu ta'ala, Mufti Ahmad Al Khanaymi rahmatullah alayhi, fireworks, atashbazi bhi haram hai. It's a waste of money. It's israf. In the opinion of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat radiallahu ta'ala anhu, fireworks are also haram, like music. But these things have become so popular, they're so embedded in our community, even parents and even बड़े जो है वो कह रहे होते हैं कि अगर म्यूजिक ना हो, आतिशबाजी ना हो, तो ऐसे लग रहा है कि जनाजे में आए, निकाह में नहीं आए. We feel like we've come to a janaza. So हालांकि that isn't the case. Naat khani koi kam to nahi hai. There's enough nasheeds for us to be playing in our nikahs, and any money that you're going to spend on fuzul, rasams, fireworks, etc., wo tohfe ke taur pe give them to the bride and groom as a gift. They could use them after they get married. Okay, so they can put these things to better use. Some rasams, again, in our Asian communities, again, these are not according to haya. These दूल्हे के जूते छुपा लेना, ठीक है. The bride's sisters, remember, they are something that we don't focus on. Is when you're married, your sister-in-laws, there's parda between you and your sister-in-laws. Okay? Between a sister-in-law and a brother-in-law, there is parda, there is hijab. Okay? So on the time of a marriage, बल्कि अभी शादी भी नहीं हुई होती, and the sister-in-laws are playing pranks, जूते छुपाना उसके, या वो ठीक है, anything else. Remember, there's hijab between them. So that's against shame, that's against modesty, it's against the Islamic standards of haya. Islami मेयार जो हया के उसके खिलाफ. दूध पिलाने की एक रस्म है, the sister-in-laws वो दूध पिलाएंगी, या दिलशा, we're not going to give you the milk until you've given us 500 pounds or something. पैसों, जब तक पैसे नहीं देंगे brother-in-law तो जूते वापस नहीं करेंगे, दूध नहीं देंगे, या etc. So again, that's the sister-in-laws doing that with the brother-in-laws, and there's hijab between them. So these are un-Islamic traditions. Okay? They're immodest by Islam's standards of modesty. These traditions are un-Islamic. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he stated, he advised men, make sure that you veil yourselves from women. औरतों से पर्दा करो, don't go to women, especially when you're alone. And someone asked, a Sahabi asked, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what about the brother-in-law? What about the brother-in-law? And Huzur alayhi salam said, Alhamu al-maut. The brother-in-law is death. The brother-in-law is death. ठीक है, बहनोई जो है और देवर मौत है. These are the words of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. So with brother-in-laws, sister-in-laws, वो और ज़्यादा पर्दे की ज़रूरत है. Even more parda than someone outside the house. Okay? With uncles, etc. as well. Rishtidaron ke saath, parda is even more important because they sometimes live in the same house. They get too informal. And we sadly hear all too often about cases of brother-in-laws, sister-in-laws, affairs or najais talukat, haram relationships, illicit relationships, even between uncles and nieces and stuff like that. Okay? Between nephews and aunties. So Islam has a very high standard of haya and modesty, sharm o haya, that we should always abide by. So I've mentioned the music, I've mentioned the fireworks, mehndi on men, this is not permissible. Okay. The sister-in-laws, hiding the shoes. In some communities, surma lagane ka ek riwaj hai. Again, it's the sister-in-laws putting surma in the eyes of the brother-in-law. The surma is sunnat, but not for your sister-in-law to be doing it to you. Chawal, some communities, chawal phenkne ka ya is a Hinduana rasam. The bride kicking chawal with her feet inside the new house. Okay, so these are just some of the impermissible rasams and customs that are prevalent in our communities, especially the music. Things that we should, when it's your own, especially when you're the elders in the family, ये गाने बाजे और नाचने वाली जो हराम रस्म है इस पे तो बड़ों को ज़्यादा प्रेशर डालना चाहिए, ठीक है. The elders of the family, they should, you know, sometimes जिनकी शादी हो रही है, they're not bothered about the music, they're not bothered about the dancing, and the parents are more concerned about making sure that happens. And it's not the kids that are getting married who are insisting on that. A lot of times they're just happy to get married, and a lot of the times it's the बरादरी, ठीक है. So many times रस्म जो है वो हमारे, many people know that certain thing is wrong, a certain thing is wrong, but the बरादरी pressure, peer pressure, the caste pressure, pressure by the elders sort of gets the best of them. Sayyidi Ala Hazrat radiallahu ta'ala, he actually mentions, I think it's in Malfuz, and our Shaykh Tariqat mentions in Parde ke bare mein ahkam, Swal Jawab. There's one actually rasam that is a preferable one. It's washing the bride's feet and then sprinkling the water in all the corners of the house, which is babarakat. And Allah Hazrat has actually mentioned that. So every rasam, every cultural thing isn't haram, but it's not halal either. Any rasam, any cultural thing, whether it's placing the I didn't say it's sunnat. I'm not saying it's sunnat. I think Allah Hazrat, I'll get the exact, it's definitely permissible. And I'm pretty sure that he said it's recommended, for barakat. Dulhan ke paon ko dona when she comes into the house and sprinkling in the corners of the house. Definitely permissible, definitely. Not sunnat, I don't think it's sunnat. But sometimes, there's, even though something's not sunnat, but if the scholars and if the awliya Allah, if they recommended it, then there'll be some reason, some hikmah behind recommending it. Good. Any more questions? Jazakallah. Thanks. We said that, we mentioned yesterday that rukhsati can be delayed from the nikah. Hazrat Aisha radiallahu anha got married, and then 2 years later the rukhsati. Hazrat Fatima's nikah as well, the rukhsati happened later. Okay? But it is better to avoid delaying rukhsatis because, or even, between the mangani and the nikah, it's best to avoid unnecessary delays. Sometimes mangani hoke, if there's a long delay up until the nikah, families fall out between the engagement and the nikah period, and then they have problems. And even after the nikah, between the nikah and the rukhsati should be done as quickly as possible, because sometimes after the nikah and before the rukhsati the families fall out. Nikahs happen and then before the rukhsati bhi nahi hui and there's a talaq happening. Okay, so that can be problematic as well. But obviously, in some cases, it's necessary. Everyone has their own sort of situation that they are dealing with. जी 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 मस्टर्ड ऑयल किस तरह का रिवाज before the bride comes in the doorway? I've heard of that. I've not read the shari hukam of that, pouring it in the doorway. It seems like there's nothing sort of haram about it, but it seems like there's a israf element, there's a wasting. तेल भी एक नेमत है, तो उसको एक ज़ाया करने वाली बात. So I've not read the Shari hukam of that, so I can't say if it's jaiz or not jaiz. If there's to for her to drink, that seems permissible. Again, I've not read it, but if when she comes to her husband's house, her mother-in-law just gives her some water to drink, इसमें कोई हराम वाली बात बस लोटे में वल्लाह आलम. इसमें बज़ाहिर कोई हराम वाली चीज़ नहीं. There's no बेपर्दगी बज़ाहिर, the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law, there's no पर्दा between them. Even though there's no parda between a son-in-law and his mother-in-law, or a daughter-in-law or father-in-law, okay? But it's better that they फिर भी have some sort of parda between them, okay? Especially if the mother-in-law and the mother-in-law is fairly young as well. Bahari Shahid states as well that it's better that to be ihtiyat, okay? Even though there's no shari parda, but it's better for them to not really be too informal and be alone in rooms and spend time. Father-in-laws and daughter-in-laws as well. We sadly hear a lot of cases in the news throughout the world. Father-in-laws, daughter-in-laws, father-in-laws especially, their niyat, how the shaitan messes with the heads of father-in-laws, but then alone with their daughter-in-laws. So even though there's no shari parda between a father-in-law and a daughter-in-law, but even when there isn't shari parda, they don't have to veil themselves. But if there's a chance of fitna between two people, well, they should veil themselves, even though shari thought that there's no parda between them. I just thought I'd mention that. Anyway, feel free to ask anything else. I've mentioned the bulk of today. The intention was just to point out some things that are haram, so that hopefully the youngsters, when you're about to get married, you can maybe talk your parents out of, and hopefully the buzurgs that are here, or when you yourself are marrying your own kids off, you know what to do and what kind of rasams, And the fact that I've listed the najaiz rasams doesn't mean कि अब वो क्योंकि म्यूजिक नहीं है तो निकाह अब जनाजे वाली कैफियत में you gotta walk in. You can still have a very, alhamdulillah, we've been to enough weddings where there isn't music, there isn't dancing, and there's nasheeds, and everyone's smiling and happy and having as wonderful a time as the same as another wedding where there was music and there is dancing. You can be as happy. Okay? So why not, do weddings according to the Shariat, and you're still having a wonderful time. This is just the shaitan messing with our heads. If there's no music and there's no dancing, वो मजा नहीं आता. That's the shaitan messing with our heads. ठीक है? तो वो गुनाहगार है. उनको समझाने की कोशिश करें. If there's anyone else who does that. Fireworks are very common in our community. ठीक है? Like they usually have like a bonfire, like usually they do it outside the village. It's not jais. Just in our villages in Pakistan, the way they have dolls, it's not jais. No, it's not doll. It's like some sort of song like. Fireworks, जैसे मैंने अर्ज किया, I don't know if there's any mu'tabar ulama, any credible muftis out there who allow it, but Sayyidi Ala Hazrat's opinion, the opinion that I've learned is that fireworks come under the israf, the wastage category, so they should be avoided as well. I think everyone knows she's coming anyway. And there's more than one way of letting everyone know that the bride's on her way, even without music and without. Yeah, that's what they usually do. Yeah. Okay. So, any other rasam in your mind that you think happens these days and I'm not mentioned, because I'm not necessarily mentioned every sort of. Ji? Again, I think it's a cultural thing, but it's not mentioned in a hadith. But it's a permissible thing. It's a permissible, and obviously we think that the parents who do it, uh, they want their daughters to be married in the shade of the Quran Sharif with the barakat of the Quran Sharif. So um, yeah, the Quran Sharif on the head, rukhsati is jaiz because there's no prohibition. It's a good tradition. The Holy Quran, we know its blessings is full of barakat. Uh, and now the Quran Sharif gives you barakat according to however you want barakat from it. So if you believe that holding the Quran Sharif, Allah Ta'ala gives you sawab according to your zan, according to your guman. So if you believe holding it above the head of your daughter, your bride, at the time of a marriage, then Allah Ta'ala will inshallah bless you, according to your zan. So even though that holding the Quran Sharif is not clearly mentioned in the hadith, and I don't know if Allah Hazrat has mentioned it, if any of our Buzurgs have mentioned it, but it's a jaiz tradition. Yeah, yeah. It's a shame. Uh, but the solution to that is to stop the music. Um, I don't think they have the music on at that exact time. Usually, the having the Quran Sharif on the bride's head is right at the end when she's about to leave the hall and she's about to get into the car and go to the groom's house. So it's the sad time. It's where everyone's crying and the music's usually off by then. Lights? Yeah, but alhamdulillah, there's nothing having lights. You were talking about how do we want people to know, we want people to know that our daughters get married, our sons get married. Lighting the house is fine. Again, wo niyat ye honi chahiye, I want people to know this is a blessing of Allah upon me, my daughter's getting married. So putting lights outside my house. Again, like walima, if the niyat is to show off and just have like expensive sort of design lights just to, unique lights that no one else has got, takiya mari, so then that is haram. But just having lights outside the house, that's a good way of, it's permissible, it's jais. On the day of the nikah, again, a good question that bride should not be, the only person who should be seeing the bride is her groom and her family. So everyone in the hall looking at her, they're having the bride on the stage. If she is on the stage, then now Mahram shouldn't be looking at her, which is most of the people there. Only the groom's allowed to look at his bride. His brother-in-law shouldn't even be staring at her. Okay. So the safer, more munasib thing is for her to be separate on the day of the marriage, for her to be totally separate. But if she is on the stage and the male guests are not allowed to look at the bride, anyone who's not a mahram of the bride. So the safer method is to have the men separately, have even the stage split, if that's possible. Nikah, she doesn't need to, even when the imam's asking her for permission, she doesn't have to remove. Even when the imam's saying, do you give me permission to marry you, she doesn't have to remove her veil. It's not a condition, he doesn't have to see her face. He needs to know who she is, who her name is, what her father's name is. Even the imam doesn't have to see her face, so she doesn't need to. And all the male guests at the marriage, you don't need to see who she is as well. Any more questions? Yeah, yeah. The walima, remember the technical definition of walima. It's okay having a do on the day it doesn't come under the sunnat. It doesn't come under anything that's sunnat. Um, it's jais and you still get sawab for it. because something's not sunnat, it doesn't mean you don't get sawab for it. Because obviously, both families they get sawab for feeding all their relatives. And it's not walima, because remember, what's the definition of walima? Walima is the feast that the groom feeds to his friends or relatives the day after he's consummated the marriage. So that's not the day of the marriage. And by consummation of the marriage means they've been intimate. So if the nikahs happened and the rukhsatis, they've not started living together, they start living together a year later. A year later, they move in together and they consummate the marriage, they're intimate. The day after that, that's his walima day. So usually, technically, it's not walima. The walima sunnats are not being fulfilled if on the day of the marriage, both families are being fed. That's good, you get sawab, mashallah, it's beautiful. Families coming together, relatives, everyone's happy for you, it's beautiful, but it's not the walima. People sometimes call it walima, humne walima kar diya ikathai. Walima hai nahi. Walima by definition is the feast the day after the consummation of the marriage, the groom, and even if you call a few friends of yours into a restaurant and feed them, that's your walima sunnat. Walima is 2 days, not more than 2 days. Uske baad jo dawat hogi, it's not classed. Technically, it's not classed as a walima. I hope that was informative. I hope that spreads a bit of light onto some of the rasams. Some of the things that are done in our community, they're not sunnat, but that doesn't mean you don't get sawab for them, or they're automatically haram. So some things are haram, and may Allah Ta'ala give us tawfiq to rectify those things as well, inshallah. And especially our elders, a lot of the times, some of the guna that are happening. There was a quote that I read today, Fatawa Razviya Sharif, volume 24, giving permission to someone to do a sin, giving ijazat, guna ki ijazat dena, ye guna karne se bada guna hai. Giving permission to someone to commit a sin is a bigger sin than actually doing the sin itself. Giving someone permission to commit a guna. Okay? So if there's 1,000 guests you've called and you're the one who's putting the music on, well, you're getting guna for, you're getting not just guna for your own listening, but the 1,000 people that you're getting 1,000 gunas. The other thing about the music, sometimes it's really shameful, because a lot of the music in Muslim weddings is Indian songs, isn't it? Bollywood songs, and people are not paying attention to the lyrics. A lot of times, these Indian songs, these films, they've got kufr in the lyrics. They've got kufr. It's like, I'm going to do main tujhe sajda karunga. So, mohabbat hi mera khuda hai, stuff like that. Lyrics that get people dancing, but from an iman point of view, there's actually kufr inside, the kufriya lyrics. Doing sajda to your mahbuba, the one you're in love with, and oh my God, and this and that, ma'azallah. There's even kufriya lyrics being played in Muslim weddings, but people are just busy eating, drinking, not paying attention to those. And it can be tough. It can be, like I said before, sometimes the youngsters, mashallah, don't even want the music and everything. They're not bothered about the hoo-ha, mashallah. And they try and tell their parents, and it's the parents, surprisingly, it's the parents, nahi ye ho ke hi rahega. We're definitely having this. We're definitely. So it's not the parents saying, humne sharafat ke saath bahaya, we want a very modest wedding, and the kids saying, nee, we want music because it's the latest thing. A lot of the times it's not the case. The boy and girl, like I said, they're just happy to get married. Music or no music, and it's the parents that nahi ista changa nahi lagna, and this and that. So changa, changa and good is whatever Shariat approves of, whatever Shariat disapproves of. Cannot be changa, it cannot be good. Ameen, Ameen. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Musa. Ya Rabbil Alameen, give us barakat and grant us, forgive our parents and the entire ummah of your beloved Mahbub sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Ya Allah, the second lesson of ours, grant us the tawfiq to remember it and to practice on the things that are within our scope of practicing. Ya Rabbil Alameen, may all our cultures, our traditions, Ya Allah, the nikahs, akikahs, anything else that we do, happy or sad occasions, may they all be in accordance with your raza and the teachings, your teachings and the teachings of your Habib sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The brothers that have arranged for these classes, Ya Allah, give them blessings. Every single brother that attended yesterday, that attended today, Ya Allah, for every single second that they've sat inside the masjid, Ya Allah, give us barakat and millions of blessings for every single second. Give us ajr and bless our parents as well. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Tomorrow, inshallah, not tomorrow, next Tuesday. So we covered